Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the London Property Podcast. It is the 16th of January. I should have known the date. Yes, it is the 16th of January. So we're 2 weeks into the new year. We obviously are going to start with the normal kind of structure with news of the week. We've got quite a lot of interesting articles. I'm going to start off to talk about kind of the biggest news in 2020 in the property market. It is the Chinese tycoon who agrees to buy the 200 million plus property at Rutland Gate. And when I say property, I mean palace. Basically, the owner of the same company that has purchased the cheese grater back in 2017, the skyscraper in the city, has agreed last week to purchase the formal palace of the late Prince Abdulaziz. This property has been empty for 3-4 years, well, since his death, more than that, and it has been on the market initially at 300 million, right? And now apparently it's been agreed for between 200 and 210 million pounds. Now that puts this sale as the most expensive property sale in the UK. Why is this important and why we're talking about it is because it already shows the stability that comes after the election result and the stability that a majority government brings to the UK. This is already translated into a very big property tycoon and business tycoon buying a trophy asset in London and basically setting a record of the sale price. And this is super important because it just shows if somebody at that caliber, at that level, is spending over 200 million pounds to acquire a property, it's a statement in many ways. It's saying, okay, now we've got the clarity, we've got a majority government, and in many ways, obviously, you're not going to see these kind of transactions happening every year, but it's a kind of a testament as to already the confidence that sophisticated investors and people, institutional investors, have in the UK and the UK property market and in London. London, obviously, it's still, with New York, probably one of the most attractive real estate cities in the world, full stop. So for us, when I saw that, I think it was like, okay, that's really positive, and we should see a ripple effect over the next couple of months into the, obviously, property prices and property brackets to a lower end. But it's very important that we've had this news, and it just shows within 2-3 weeks after the general election, we've had some positive news for the market, for the UK in general. I think, again, this, not just in the UK, but around the world, really sets the mark and makes a statement. And yeah, it's a showpiece property. Chris is going to talk more about the actual property itself, but for us it's positive news, and it just shows that people still buy in London, people are confident, and now we have, stability brings confidence, simply put. So
yeah, this property, it's the largest residential property in London outside Buckingham Palace. Mm-hmm. So when we say it's big news, it is big news that it's gone under offer, because it's been on the market, as far as I understand, for somewhere in the region of 4, 5, 6 years, something like that. It's been under offer a couple of times. I think the Candies tried to buy it at one stage. There's been a few high-profile people, and it's back under offer again. And it's 80,000 square feet, absolutely ginormous. It overlooks Hyde Park, it's in Rutland Gate, and it's just a monster of a property. So I think it's something like 10,000 square feet on each floor. So it's really good news. That actually, we've just agreed something down the road overlooking Hyde Park, albeit a smaller flat at 6 million. In Albert Hall Mansions, but that's kind of a trophy asset in its own right. So it's good to see that these things are going under offer, and like you say, it brings some confidence into the marketplace. So, and it's interesting. It's Chinese who are buying that property, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's your news for the week. My news for the week. I'm going to talk a little bit about the next governor of the Bank of England, and the reason that I've chosen this is because if we remember in 2015, Mark Carney, who came in, he implemented a policy of macro-prudential regulation that the UK had never really kind of experienced before to any degree with regards to the property market. And he seemed to work, my understanding is, he seemed to work hand in hand with George Osborne at the time with regards to getting the prudential regulation authority involved in stress testing and making it more difficult to lend, and income multiples and everything else, and it slowed down the market somewhat. And I think he would have had a hand in advising the government with regards to trying to take the heat out of the market, because he did say the market back in 2015 poses the single biggest risk to the economy if it just keeps on booming at 15-20% a year. Now, as with the Fed, when every new Fed chairman's come in America, you always hear a lot about who's the next Fed chairman. Are they going to be a dove? Are they going to be a hawk? Are they going to be loose with monetary policy and pump the markets full of money? Who are they? And they look at their background. But in the UK, we haven't really seen any news with regards to that, really. Yeah. But I did manage to find an article from Politico, I think it is.
Politico, yeah.
And they've said, the headline is, the next Bank of England governor looks to ease the rules after Brexit. He's called Andrew Bailey, and he said he's very tight-lipped about monetary policy, so people don't really know whether he's a dove or a hawk. But he has said a couple of things that people have tried to read into to figure out what he's going to do. And this is what he said. Left to our own devices, I think the UK regulatory system would evolve somewhat differently. This is after we leave the EU. I would think we would take on board practical experience more rapidly, and it would be based more on principles which emerge from experience of public policy, and somewhat less on detailed rules that can tend to become overly set in stone. So I'm British, and the way that I look at that statement is, whereas somebody like Trump would say, let's just burn regulation. From what I see this guy saying is, we're going to diverge. We don't want rules set in stone. Principles, we're going to put out there to the banks or whatever, I presume, and it's a bit more of a grey area, I would say. A bit more. They've got a bit more. They're working to certain guidelines rather than particular rules. So. And I think that's why Politico have titled this article that is set to kind of loosen policy. So that'll be interesting. He comes in March. We'll be quite pleased to see Mark Carney go, because although he has completely stabilised the market, well, pretty much stopped it dead, it'd just be nice to have somebody else in as the Bank of England governor. And you would expect Boris and the new Chancellor will want some kind of injection to some degree in the economy going forwards. So that's something to look forward to and see what happens after March.
Yeah, very interesting. One thing that really stands out for me in this appointment is, well, it's basically the fact that we're appointing somebody who is going to try to make the UK less regulated and diverge from EU rules, and in that way it's going to make us more competitive in the long term compared to the EU and EU countries. So it's very interesting, because I think the EU were quite scared of that, and it was one of the big things. They didn't want Brexit to happen, they didn't want the UK to leave. It's because of that. Now, basically, the guy could come in, loosen up regulation, and make the UK super competitive against the EU. So that's positive for us here in the UK, for EU member states and the EU as a whole. Perhaps not great in the long term. So let's see.
I don't think you'll ever say that it'll loosen up regulation.
No, of course not. You'll have to be really.
The wording that is used to describe what he'll do he'll set principle guidelines rather than rules set in stone. And I think for anybody interpreting that, what does that mean?
Yeah, it's easy to read between the lines what it actually means.
You'll have to figure out what you think to that wording, but I mean that's our take on it.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing, and it's something that I guess we did expect. The whole point, one of the big things that the Leave campaign, brought in. It was to get rid of all these rules that are set in Brussels but are directly impacting the UK. And of course it's a controversial topic, and I'm sure there'll be people who'll say, well, this and this about the EU, it's a bad thing, the Remainers, but ultimately I think in the medium to long term the UK is going to become very competitive.
You want to see some upside, don't you? You want to be able to take back your own policies, and if you think regulation is too over the top and slowing down business to some degree, that needs to be maybe looked at, which is what it sounds like might happen. Yeah,
it's good. All right, so I'm going to briefly mention another article which I think is important. It's a news article from The Guardian, and they say UK house sales are set to increase, and this is obviously coming from Savills, so they expect to have more volume. I'm not talking about prices, I'm talking about number of transactions. Because obviously it's just a boost of confidence. As I said earlier, stability creates confidence. We've had the election, we know who's in charge now, what government we have, and this, even in the last 2 weeks since we've got back into the office, we've seen an increase of activity, both from buyers inquiring, wanting to view, etc. We've had, our diaries were full yesterday and this week.
Absolutely jammed.
And
today.
I didn't even sit down in the office yesterday.
Last year.
Well, I mean, compared to November and December last year, a big difference. So it just shows this confidence in buyers and sellers as well. We've had more market appraisals, so we do expect, basically, as Savills say, we do expect this confidence to affect the number of sales and the transactions. Prices are not going to change, but the fact that we've had the biggest property sale in the UK, we're seeing already an increase. It just shows how much of a hindrance the whole uncertainty was. And I couldn't be happier that we finally got over that and we can move on with things. It was about time.
Well, with regards to that big sale, that was, I think, first listed somewhere in the region of 350 million.
There you go.
From what I understand, it's been purchased somewhere in the region of 200 and something.
200 to 210.
So
it's between that region. So
it's not like prices are back up to the heights on where they were, but turnover, at least people are now thinking it's a good time to trade. It does feel like we're kind of close to the bottom, at least this year.
I think the market has corrected, and yes, we're not going to see massive price increases, but we're definitely going to see an increase of volume, which is better than last year. So definitely positive 2 weeks for the UK so far. It should be a very interesting year for all of us. All right, question of the week. Do you want to introduce it?
Question of the week this week. This is from Andy. He said that he wants to move, but he's concerned about the market. So he owns a property, basically. He wants to sell it, but is concerned. Should I hold off and wait, or should I sell now? What's the best time? Obviously, us being estate agents, you should sell right now. No, but is a concern that pretty much the majority of our clients have at the moment. When is the best time? There's so much uncertainty out there. I mean, I know what my answer would be. And it would be actually around the research that every single agency, every single big credible agency putting out there, the research with regards to, we've just heard here about Savills, but every big agent that I've looked at is saying the same thing. And also with regards to where prices are not going to go, they're not going to go down, not going to go up, they're going to stay pretty much flat for this year. That's everyone's predictions. What are you waiting for? Do you know what I mean? What is the point in waiting? It's not, people seem to think that all of a sudden prices are going to be up 15% if they wait another 3 months. They're not. They're not. There's no upside to waiting. The market's going to be in line with inflation for the next few years, so just get on with it. That's what I would say. Just don't worry about it, get on with it. And while there still is quite a lack of stock on the market because of the uncertainty last year, yes, there is more coming to market, but it still is a good time to list when there's a lack of supply. That's what I would say, and I'm being genuinely serious when I say that.
Absolutely.
What you're going to do, wait 6 months down the line until there's maybe more people on the market, but prices haven't really changed that much. There's just more stuff.
More difficult to sell if you get to that scenario, supply and demand. My answer would be sell, stop sitting on the fence. Look, from my experience, one of the biggest mistakes people do make is they try to time the bottom of the market. They try to somehow time when, if people were able to do that, then there'll be a lot of billionaires or whatever, because if you knew what was going to happen in advance, you'd be acting on it, right? The matter of fact is, there's people who take decisions and people who don't take decisions, indecisive people. No, it's right, it's very true. The ones who do take decisions, and there is risk involved in that, those are the ones who ultimately end up doing things, making profit on a property, on a business, etc. The ones who are indecisive and they try to overcalculate things are the ones who are going to, on the long run, lose out. And it's the same with selling a property. We've had the election, which was a big thing for a lot of people. Some people were directly impacted by Deutsche Bank because they were employed at Deutsche Bank. So if they relocated from London because of Brexit outcome, whatever, then I understand. Now we've got the clarity. The market isn't going to magically transform overnight. It's been corrected. The prices have corrected. And like Chris said, the prices are just going to be in line with inflation. What will happen is slowly as time goes on from the election, people are going to become more confident to put their property on the market. So what will happen is, we've done some market appraisals where there isn't a property on the street for sale, right? So if you're putting it for sale and somebody wants that address or that area, you've got an advantage because you're the only one with a property for sale in this moment of time, right? In 6 months' time, maybe they're going to be 3 people selling in the same street, so you're competing with 3 houses, right? So sell now.
The thing is, good things are selling.
Good things are selling.
People might not think things are selling, but good properties are selling.
Absolutely.
So if you want to sell right now and you believe you've got a reasonably good property, it's going to sell. There's no problem about that.
I agree. Price sensitivity. This is, again, anybody that is watching this thinking of selling, I cannot emphasize this, and we say to all the clients that we meet or do market appraisals for, or they have a property on the market with us. If you want to sell the property and you're motivated, let's say in Andy's example, he's looking to move, etc., and he wants to sell, or he's thinking of selling, right? You have to understand where the market is. You have to form your own opinion, but you also have to understand what professionals are saying, because there's research and there's a lot of data being analyzed for these kind of research things to come out for us to form an opinion. We know what's happening, right, quicker than somebody who thinks they know something about property. You have to listen to the professionals, and everyone's saying the same thing. There's no point waiting. You're waiting for what, like I said, to sell it will take much longer for your properties to sell. If more properties do come on the market, the time to sell is now. It's actually still quite a good time, because as Chris said, every time we look online, good properties are under offer, or they just get snapped up very quickly. Like if we take on a really good listing which is priced correctly for where the market is, you get so many inquiries. So there's so many buyers, so many kind of invisible buyers out there in the market, but they'll only move if it's like the right property, then it's priced correctly. So buyers are really active and they've got capital to deploy because we've had so long for them to like sit on the fence. Now they're ready to pull the trigger. So it's a great time to actually put your property onto the market rather than doing it in 6 months' time, because you're not going to achieve more. It's clear, and there's not going to be a big difference in price, and you might be actually losing out on a lot of really good buyers that are ready to pull the trigger now. So speed is everything. I would recommend to Andy, definitely sell your property now, and I think these 3 to 4 months are going to be really good time to sell because we're still early days. There's more confidence, and the people who get in early are going to benefit the most. In 6 months, I expect more listings to be on the market, more people, more sellers having confidence to put their property on the market. And if you have 5 properties on the same street, it's more difficult to sell. If you only have 1 or 2, you're in a better position and you've got a better chance to catch those buyers. Very simple.
Because don't forget, there's been 3 or 4 years of sellers holding back, selling properties, and there is a big kind of influx of those clients to come to market. We've not seen them all come through yet. There's a few that have come through, but the ones that have, they've been fine. Like I say, the compromised properties are the ones that are the most difficult to shift in this market. But I'm sure, if you're watching this, I'm sure you don't think you've got a compromised property.
No, absolutely. And it's important for people, for sellers, to be aware of where the market is, and their price expectations to be in line with. If you want to sell quick, we can obviously advise, or any estate agent who is professional and does their job properly, they can advise you to list for the correct price. Of course, there are agents in the industry, unfortunately, which overvalue things for the sake of getting the listing on and then price dropping. We don't operate like that, but yes, there are unfortunately people like that. So speak to professional people, give us a call, we'll be more than happy to help. But have reasonable expectations of your pricing.
Good advice.
That is good advice, isn't it? I mean, so that's it for today. We don't have any hot listing of the week. We don't have a sale of the week at this stage. Do we have anything else to add on?
Nothing. No sale of the week this week. I think the sale of the week is that the largest residential.
That is the sale of the year,
other than Buckingham Palace.
Record
record
sale. It's a great thing. All right, lovely. Thank you for paying attention. It's been a pleasure. You can contact us. Links below. You've got our social media, our phone numbers, emails, etc. We'll be happy to have a chat if you're thinking of buying in prime central London. So see you guys next week.
See you next week.